Okay, let's make a start. It's 7 o'clock. So, welcome everybody. Just go through the first statements and all the usual bits and pieces first. So there's no fire alarm planned for this evening. Should that alarm sound, please leave via the nearest available urgent emergency exit. Two of the closest exits are through the glass doors behind you and to my left, that's over there. And through the double doors onto the riverside behind you as well, that's straight through under the clock. And meet at the Café des Amis. Tonight, the upstairs toilets are out of order, so we use the access toilet on this floor, please. Members of the public are welcome to make their own recordings of the meetings using whatever non-disruptive methods they think are suitable. This meeting is being minuted, recorded and audio live streamed via the council's website. And the Westgate Gardens gates on the river side are locked at sunset, so they're well and truly locked now. So members of the public must leave the Guildhall by the side exit behind the glass door. So welcome to this meeting of the Cabinet. The Cabinet is part of the council responsible for the day-to-day decisions. It's made up of the leader, who is elected by the council, and that's myself, Alan Baldock. The other Cabinet members are Councillor Dixie, who's Deputy Leader, and Cabinet Member for Property, Performance and Oversight. Councillor Soul, who's Deputy, is the Cabinet Member for Finance. Councillor Hazelton is Cabinet Member for Housing. Councillor Dawkins is Cabinet Member for Climate Change and Biodiversity. Councillor Charlotte Cornell is Cabinet Member for Heritage, Open Space and Waste and Recycling. Councillor Chris Cornell is Cabinet Member for the Coastal Towns. Councillor Ricketts is Cabinet Member for Tourism, Movement and Rural Development. And Councillor Nolan is Community, Culture, Safety and Engagement. The Cabinet collectively provides strategic leadership to the Council. So, first thing we can do is any apologies for absence, Vanessa?
No apologies, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Looked like a good head count when I walked in, so it was a good start. Declarations of interest by members or officers, please. Have you got any recorded already, Vanessa?
None in advance, Chair.
Okay, is anybody... Okay, Councillor Dawkins.
Regarding item 10 and 11, I've got a dog.
I'll take Django as being recorded as the interest. Thank you for that. And it's a good point, I suppose. And obviously, Marie, then Susie and Tricia, please, as well, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Chair. Board member at Kanenko.
Thank you.
Same Chair, Board Member for Kanenko.
Noted, thank you. Was it useful, Tricia? Sorry.
Not sure it's really an interest, but just to declare I'm a member of the RSPB, so...
Okay, thank you for that.
In which case, I also am a member of the RSPB.
That's fine, thank you for that. Bill Hicks.
I should also just mention, Chair, that I'm also sitting on the bid board as well, by dint of being a member of the council.
Yeah, that's noted. Thank you for that. So they're all noted, and I think they're fully understood and reasonable declarations to make there. So thank you for that. Any Cabinet member wish to make any announcements tonight? Councillor Charlotte Cornell and then Councillor Mel Dawkins.
Very much. I did say I'd provide an update to Cabinet on the contaminated recyclables hangers that were issued to residents from the mid-January onwards. So I'm just taking this opportunity to provide yourselves with some data on how the rollout has gone. The first week of issue, which was the 15th of January, there were 379 hangers issued for contaminated mixed recycling. And that over doubled the following week to 839 hangers issued. Since that week, 22nd of the 1st, there's been a gentle and really encouraging reduction in the amount of hangers issued. So we've gone from a peak of 839 being issued. The following weeks read as follows: 431, then 475, then 270, 233, 161, 122 and 126. So a sort of gentle halving in a fortnightly cycle so far, which it has been to the officers and the Canonco management team a really encouraging sign that the education that those hangars were designed to engender is absolutely working. Where there have been complaints from residents have been minimal, and those being received are investigated and solutions found. There have been a small number of cases where crews have been verbally abused and challenged, and these cases are being reviewed by health and safety officers, and where appropriate, enforcement and localities teams are undertaking follow-up visits to those addresses. So it is absolutely the plan to continue the use of these hangars. If gentle halving increases, we will be an exemplary district in no time. But all in all, the educational intention of those hangars is doing its job. I will report back again in another few months' time.
Could you bring that to council as well, please, Councillor Cornell?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, Mel, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, a couple of announcements. One that you probably know already, but the council has been successful in bidding with their bid for money from the Swimming Pool Support Fund, which is a national scheme worth £60 million in total. So the funding that we received is 73,000, and it will be spent on installing 118 new solar panels on the south-facing pitch elevation of the roof of the swimming pool in Whitstable Tower Parade. I can go into more detail if you want, but everything's on the... I can tell you what all the kilowatts were if you would like. It is estimated... I'll just do it. Right, get in the right meeting. Yeah, it is estimated these will generate 52.525 kilowatts per year initially, which equates to more than 10,000 kilowatts of carbon dioxide saved per year. And also, within that funding, it will pay for 5 new sub-meters, which is a type of smart meter, which basically identifies any efficiencies in the swimming pool so that you can use the energy more efficiently. So the other announcement is that I was working with Councillor Charlotte Cornell on bringing together better communication between Canonco and our own policy and biodiversity local nature recovery strategy. Following on from our eco declaration, as you know, there was a bit of a mismanagement or issue that we've experienced at Curtiswood recently, and that got quite a lot of publicity, and many councillors were concerned about that. So the senior officers and director of Canonco met recently following a meeting that we both had all together to talk through the lessons learned in relation to the delivery of the tree works and to put in place simple measures to ensure we manage out a similar incident happening in the future. So I've heard it was a very positive meeting, and focus will be put on improving communication between councillors, the environment team, contracts, case and Canonco review to ensuring all parties are aware of the works, have agreed to the work specification and timing. So we're moving on and learning our lessons. Thank you.
That's great. That's what we do. We need to do, and we do. Well done, both of you. Thank you for that. Councillor Ricketts.
Thank you, Chair. Just a very brief report back from the Joint Transportation Board that met last week. It was a very good meeting. The transport strategy was greeted quite warmly in a lot of corners. We did receive a petition from residents about the Herne Bay Plaza, and I can report that Kent County Council has convened a working group, including residents and officers and people interested. It is likely that that working group will conclude its work before the next Joint Transportation Board, but I have asked that they report back to that, and they've agreed to do that. But we'll be keeping a watching brief on what that working group comes up with and any action from that, and I'll report back.
That's excellent. Thank you, Alex. Anyone else? Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Just before we move on through and start the agenda proper tonight, should we say? I think I had a chat with the cabinet earlier on, and we think for clarity and to make things more fluid and more understandable, I think we've got two items at the end of our agenda, items 9 and 10, which relate very much to Long Rock. And I think we would be beneficial to debate in our process of thinking if we do, we swap items 9 and 10. In other words, we do 10 first, which is all about the management plan, and we understand Long Rock more, and then we use that as a basis for thinking through the dog control order, which is at item 9. So both items exactly the same, nothing different there, but I think it might help our understanding, help our debate, and if officers are willing to go with that, I think it might be a positive thing to do. So let's get the right decision out of this, whichever way we can. So thank you very much for that. So we okay, just note that. Thank you for that. Right. So we've got some public participation tonight. That's item 4. These 3 public speakers I've got noted. Is that still the case? Yeah. Okay, that's great. Well done. Thank you for those people that are here tonight to do that. Really appreciate that. And they'll be done before item 7, which is the one about the bid. And so basically the first substantive item on our agenda tonight. So the next thing we've got to do, item 5, which is the minutes of the meeting on the 11th of March. Is there any comments or thoughts on that? But if not, we can agree those minutes by mutual and general assent. Happy with that, all of you? Okay, thank you for that. So we agree those minutes for item 5. Okay, references committee, that's item 6. The minutes of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee on the 29th of February are very much relevant, especially to the items we've just mentioned, items 9 and 10. Absolutely brilliant meeting. I know many of us were there for that meeting, and I send my thanks to that committee for the work they put into that reference there. Thank you. Okay, so item A, part A of the meeting now. There's items to be considered with public participation. As we just said, we've got 3 speakers now for this one. So public speakers first, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So have you got a list of speakers? Okay. Oh yeah, lovely. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, so I've got 3 speakers tonight, and the first person to speak is Hilary Bryan from the Canterbury Society, if you'd be fine. Thank you very much. Yes, please. Yeah, it's okay, Hilary, just take your time and set yourself up when you're comfy. Start.
Hello, Hilary Bryan. I'm the chair of the Canterbury Society. I took over the role a year ago and didn't really know what I was doing, but I'm learning very fast. And one of the things that's impressed me most about Canterbury is the network that we have. And I think that's been largely provided by the bid. So I thought about speaking this evening, and I like to turn things around because I'm a bit obtuse. And I thought, what would Canterbury be like without the bid? You know, what would happen if they just disappeared? I was thinking about the flower baskets in the summer that make the streets look so lovely, the Christmas lights in the winter. The boarded up shops wouldn't have the vinyls in the windows. The medieval pageant is fabulous. The ambassador service is amazing for visitors. Even local people use them. And if we didn't have them, that would be a real loss to the city. There's various other things like the complement the cleaning that the council do with their own cleaning machine, which I never knew anything about. But it's amazing what they do. You just phone up and there they are. The Canterbury in Bloom and the River Star Wild Fest, just amazing things that they do. One of the things that impressed me, as I said, was that they facilitate a lot of partnership working. They engage the community organisations, including ACRA, which aren't here this evening, but the Association of Residents Associations. And I know they very much appreciate having their chair, Dave Kemsley, and I are observers on the bid board. And it's really good to be engaged. We don't speak very often, but we are asked to. But it's really great that they engage with the local societies to see what's going on. For example, we did a Blue Plaques project recently, and they supported us with that, which is really great. And in fact, before we could even organise the opening event, the social media has gone alive with it. People are really enthused with that. And we've been supported by the bid, which has been much appreciated. The last thing really is just the constant promotion that the bid do. They're always on my apps and I see them everywhere. Constantly promoting Canterbury is a really lovely place to visit and to come back to. and it highlights events that local people might not otherwise notice. We really value the work they do, and I'd just like to commend them to you when you consider the appointment for next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next person to speak is John Mills, please. And again, make yourself comfortable, John, and start when you're ready.
I'm not sure there's anything left to say. My name's John Mills. I'm the brewer distiller at the Foundry Brew Pub. I'm also one of the owners. We're a husband and wife business. We've been in business as the Foundry for about 14 years, but been in business in Canterbury for 23 years. 10 years before that, we were 10 years at Kent University. We have 5 children, 4 different schools, all in Canterbury. Various clubs from swimming to 3 performing arts to rugby to judo. We walk into work, we walk home from work. So Canterbury is a huge part of our lives and we see it from a lot of different angles. I'd like to give you a little bit of a story. About 7 years ago, I'd come up with one of my crazy ideas for saving a bit of energy and becoming more efficient in our brewing process. And Bid said to me, why don't you come along for a presentation? And I thought, oh, do I really want to do that? I'm a busy man, I've got things to do. Went to the presentation and funding was recommended to us. So who's going to give me money to make beer? That's just ridiculous. So we'll go along with it. We did a little bit of funding. As part of that project, we got some new tanks and we got this little baby still and we started on our distilling journey and our energy efficient journey. Today, we heat the whole of the restaurant and the bar from all the reclaimed heat from our distilling process. We don't only have a little 100 litre still, we have a 500 litre still, making everything from gin, whiskey, vodka, rum. Last Wednesday, we were in the world finals for 2 of our whiskies with the biggest whiskey houses on the planet. The most amazing experience that I've ever had. But really my point is that we're also growing mushrooms in our cellar from all of our waste heat, CO2, waste water. So you can see what kind of crazy people we are. But unless Bid had given us this sense of community, encouragement, so many different things, none of that would have happened. From those little things, that little bit of support to lots of businesses throughout the city and all of you and everyone else. There's a lot wrong with the country at the moment. And as a result, things are wrong in Canterbury. But there's a lot good in Canterbury. And Bid is one of your best assets. Yeah, I just recommend your support. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And finally, it's Councillor Rachel Carnac who's speaking as a councillor.
Thank you, Chair. In the corporate plan that we passed in 2022, we promised to create a pro-business district that supports enterprise and innovation in order to drive economic development. The work of the Canterbury Business Investment District exemplifies this. I'm here to ask Cabinet to vote that the Council casts its vote as a yes in the forthcoming ballot to establish a 3rd term of the Canterbury bid. In May 2019, as the then chair of the Regeneration and Property Committee, I voted with my colleagues at committee to back the bid, while Labour councillors voted against renewing it. At that time, they said services would be better provided by the City Council and said that the bid was undemocratic. We voted it through then because the advantages for the city and the economy were proven in the first bid term. But I would argue in this 2nd term, they have not only been proven, but embedded. A 3rd term would allow the bid to deliver yet more projects and interventions which improve and safeguard the health of the city centre without further pressure on public finances. The council leader was also leader of the Labour group in 2019 when a negative view was taken of the bid at that Regeneration and Property Committee. So I am here to ask that he and his Labour Cabinet colleagues change their votes from a no in 2019 and accept that the bid is a benefit at the heart of Canterbury Shopping District. I hope they now realise, like me and my colleagues, the benefits of the bid and that this evening they will decide to vote yes. We are all aware that some see the bid levy as double taxation and a layer of unnecessary red tape, especially when businesses are struggling. But I would argue that having the bid has really helped Canterbury Shopping Centre emerge strongly from the pandemic and lockdowns. It's a thriving shopping centre that continues to attract well-known brands and small independents to set up shop, and much of that is attributable to the work of the bid. Compared to many other shopping centres, retail voids are on the lower side and shoppers are attracted to our historic city. The bid uses the levy effectively to provide a lot of investment that small businesses wouldn't otherwise be able to provide themselves, and the public purse certainly couldn't and shouldn't afford. Since October 2014, almost £6 million has been invested, not only on Christmas lights and the summer floral hanging baskets, which the bid is synonymous with, but it reaches 30 million people per year through marketing campaigns. Its recent interventions to combat antisocial behaviour around Whitefriars and to support the evening and nighttime economy are to be welcomed. The bid is also important as a critical friend to the council, telling it what needs doing to promote the Canterbury experience and challenging on areas where it sees economic growth being damaged, such as through high parking charges. All in all, I ask that Cabinet supports the recommendations in the officer's report and backs the bid for another 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you. That's appreciated that. Okay. 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 So we're start debating this as a cabinet in a minute, but I've just introduced the item as it is on your agenda. I know you would have all read that, and most of you, I'm sure, would have read the bid document in full. So we know what we're looking at. We also know, of course, that we've had 10 years of the bid, and we know what a city is like with the bid in place, and that's what we'll be looking at tonight. So the item is actually two sections, two bits. I think the first bit is pretty uncontentious, and that is what we need to resolve, that we endorse and support the process of the bid ballot. And that process is supported by the council and the electoral team. And that's the way the regulation works, and we need to do that regardless tonight of how we feel. So I think we can agree that that's pretty uncontentious, and we will need to do that part of the voting tonight as well. The second bit of the bid, which we're talking about, is whether we as a council support bid 3. And we do that by actually symbolising our support. We have 16 votes as a council. And the cost of that belonging to the bid at 1.8% of business rate levy is £23,515 per year. That, as Councillor Sol will no doubt know, as we went over the figures many times, is actually in the budget, and we just about got that figure right. So there's not a cost implication to the processes or things that we're going to be doing in this council. We've already taken account of that. We took that cautious assumption, and rightly so, we think. Most of that cost, interestingly, is made up from 6 car parks and the Beanie. The other properties are considerably less than that. I emailed all of you there. And if anyone's interested, actually, then just obviously shout out. We can do the list of the sites if you wish to know and put that on public record. So, I think all of you have had the chance to read the report, as I said earlier, but for me, thoughts that crossed my mind as I introduced this report to you tonight. There's an impressive track record over 10 years as operating as a bid, and they certainly do achieve. But to me, there's two lines, I think, in there, or two lines of direction that I think the bid take this city and take the businesses of the city. One is their marketing, which has a big reach. You know, over their period of time, I think they've met around about 30 million people worldwide in their marketing strategies. A lot of people, whatever way you cut it. The Visit Canterbury website, of course, a good, well-used, interesting and effective website. And their unstinting support for festivals and improving just generally the everyday visitor experience, which as a council, in office and in our manifestos was about the business of looking after our city, our heritage, our culture, our visitors, our tourism, our wealth, things that have been chipped away at by previous administrations. We're turning that tide. So the people of, and the second bit is really the way that the bid focus on the people that make up the bid. And John tonight actually mentioned that, how his business, I know he's had some really tough times in his business as well. And the bid have been there, as it's been there for many, many businesses. And with the networking that they get in place now, which many of us visit and are welcome to, meeting businesses ourselves, the training, crossing all sorts of pieces of training, and just the support and mentoring, and that is important to us as a philosophy, because it is all about building the resilience into the most important thing in any business, and that is its staff. And from that, they get the growth they need. So that's what the business tries to do as the bid. And I don't often go to these sort of things, but I'm going to just read out their vision from their document, I think, which is probably a useful thing to endorse, actually. So bear with me 1 second. And I guess we would have heard the other side of this argument. It says, we want Canterbury to be a thriving place for business, for everyone can enjoy and benefit the city's rich culture, heritage and commerce. Tonight we need to find out, make our minds up whether the bid does that or not, or looks like it's going to do that. As a business improvement district, our mission is to represent the business community and to enable the city and to be vibrant, connected, successful and profitable place in which to do business. This benefits everyone, business, their staff, clients and customers, which includes residents, students and tourists. We want everyone to make the most of our beautiful city. So we take those lines, that's our ambitions. If we cast our vote tonight to cast the 16 votes that the bid would like, that really endorses whether we think the bid can achieve that. And that's what we must make our mind up, whether we do that or not. So we're open to debate in a moment or two, and we'll take our way through that and all of your comments and views before we make our decision on really the second vote. Okay. Let's just get the proposals on there, and these are to resolve tonight. So first one is, as the local authority, A, to receive the draft business improvement district proposal as detailed in the report, and that's the one I mentioned earlier on, and all of you have read already. To B, delegate to Director of Strategy Improvement to approve the final version, which will form the basis of get the wording right, the notification of the bid ballot submitted to the Secretary of State. And C, to authorise the returning officer to conduct the bid ballot in 2024. I believe that's July? July, isn't it? Yeah, 11th and 12th of July, so thank you for that. And the second part of this is to, the bit we remember talked about earlier, as a non-domestic rates levy payer, delegate the Director of Strategy Improvement to cast the Council's vote as yes in the forthcoming ballot. So that's the bit that we've decided on tonight. So, over to you to open the debate. And thank you for the people that spoke tonight. We appreciate it. You're going to second that, Mike, was it? Yeah, thank you very much. So, seconding myself. Do you want to speak first now, Mike? Thank you, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's very clear that Canterbury is a much, much better place with the bid than without it, a significantly better place. There's no way as a local authority we could do even a small percent of what the bid does. And, it's certainly a big yes from me that we continue with this. And I think what's impressive as well is that the bid doesn't just stand still. It's always looking to do more and more. And as a district, we all benefit from that. Many times people stop me and say, isn't this good that this is happening or this is happening? Aren't the council doing well? And I say, that's not the council, that's BID that have done that. I don't take credit that it isn't due. And there were some fantastic things that the BID have done. And I think the other important thing is that what the BID does, it does because its members want it to do it. It's not a council deciding what we think is good for businesses in the city. They're doing it themselves, and the plan to expand it as well, taking more of the city, I think it is very good. So it's great that BID's there. I mean, they will sometimes criticise us on some of the things we do, but then that's right that we're challenged on things like car parking charges. But it's a very helpful voice to have. So I'm very supportive of BID, and I very much hope we will continue to see them in the district for another 5 years.
Thank you, Mike. Who's next? Councillor Charlotte Corner.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm hugely supportive of the bid and really hope that we do vote to use our votes to support the retention. I obviously wasn't a councillor in 2019, so it's the first time I've cast a vote in this regard. But, speaking for my colleagues, we're well aware that opinions can change. In 2019, we all coughed over each other in buses with impunity. Britain was firmly within Europe and Boris Johnson was popular. Things change and we look again at what we do and how we do things. I also think the second term of the bid has grown and improved the heart and the presence within the city. I think the benefits are hugely visible. I think everywhere I turn, I see Lisa. I think you are the every woman of Canterbury and an ambassador, as an ambassador for the organisation. You are doing a fantastic job in a fantastic organisation that's bringing an awful lot to the city. The improvement to the street scene, the centering at the sense of neighbourhood and community that I believe the bid brings. You seem to be at the heart of Canterbury's heart. And I hope my colleagues agree with me that in the past 2, 3, 4 years, that's become more and more and more visible. So absolutely, I will be voting for us to use our votes to retain the bid.
It was it you, Mel? Was it Mike? Let's take Mike. I know Mike wants to speak, doesn't he? So let's go for that first, sorry.
Thank you. I was going to speak in favour of it, but I think it's all been said now. So I'll just add one thing. It wasn't the whole Labour group who voted against BID last time. It was just a few of you. So a correction. So in defence of our colleagues.
No need to defend. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, never explain, never review.
But it is a fantastic organisation.
Councillor Nolan.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's quite true that everywhere you turn, there's bid. And so if I consider my portfolio, the good bit, the bit that's sort of very positive and going forward, the culture and arts, they're there working with other strategic partners, which is absolutely fabulous. One of the things that I particularly value about BID is when I ask them for advice or help, they're there very positive and giving that, which is really, really important. And the other thing I just want to say is, now we are the administration. We need to be very much pragmatic and fiscally prudent. We weren't the ones that wasted money on a car park that wasn't wanted or deciding to rescue Whitefriars. And I wholeheartedly support the first two speakers, but I would like to just say I was on the Regeneration Committee and I called it the Let's Shut It Down Committee because that's all we ever did. So to actually step back and say what happened was that BID stepped forward, and thank goodness they did. They stepped forward to make sure things happened. I remember the misery, and it was the misery of the residents and the businesses when the council just decided not to have the Christmas lights. I remember that very well. And that's why BID stepped in to do the lights. I remember saying to the previous leader of the council, it would be a really good idea to have a big screen in Whitefriars because we could have it there for the coronation and leave it there for the Eurovision contest. And his answer to me is imprinted on my memory. He said, if people want it, I'm sure a business will step forward and do it. So that sums up the previous administration approach to regeneration. If the people want it, then a business will step forward to do it. Well, we are different. We are a Lib and Labour. Sorry, I said that ran the wrong way. We are a Labour and Liberal Democrats. No. Yeah, I misspoke. We are a Labour and Lib Dem administration, and we have a different approach. But we're fiscally prudent. We're not going to say that we're going to spend money on things that we can't. There are things that I would love to do, but there's no money for it. Well, Mike Soul keeps telling us there's no money for it, and I believe him. So what we need to do is we need to be pragmatic about the whole thing. And I must say that, that BID has been so good at sort of getting the temperature, getting the pulse of what the business community wants, but also bringing, with the medieval pageant, bringing absolute joy and celebration to our streets as well. So I'm going to vote for it.
Councillor Hazelton.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so as ward councillor in Westgate, I think both Michael and I know how important a thriving city centre is to the whole economy of the district, not just bringing tourists in, but making life life vibrant and economically on the up for the rest of us right across the district. And I think from Claire and Lisa through the ambassadors, sadly they've said goodbye to Simon this last week, wished him well. I'm sure they'll have other people, coming and step forward to be the front face of the BID. I think they do an absolutely fantastic job, and I'm as pro-business as you can possibly be, and I very much hope that we'll all agree to vote for it. It'll be good for the whole district and good for the businesses that we will also have as part of that BID, the ones that will be paying the levy. Thank you.
Councillor Ricketts.
Thank you. Yes, I won't have to change my opinion on the BID for this vote, so it's all good news there, because I'm a big fan, even though perhaps the BID and its members aren't always a big fan of me. I think that's an important, I would say, critical friend at times, but there have been plenty of times where actually it's really, really useful to be able to get a very quick, very, very detailed read on the views of businesses in Canterbury, because when you're trying to put stuff together and we're all trying to work for the betterment of the district, having that really detailed knowledge of what people think and what people want to be achieving is incredibly useful, and having the opportunity to be in a room with people where we can discuss these things openly in an adult, grown-up fashion, and even agree to disagree, I think is incredibly important to the functioning of this council as well. So it serves not just a business purpose, but I think an important democratic purpose as well within that. But I think it's interesting for me, it's almost a no-brainer. You look at the brilliant report that's been put together this evening and some of the information that we receive from the bid on a regular basis. You couldn't look at that and decide that you would want to take that away with any level of sense. So I would urge everybody to vote for, and more power to the bid for the next period.
Yeah, Councillor Dawkins.
Thank you. I want to say that I'm going to support this evening and very much support the bid. And, you can really tell, that they really do generally care about the city and how it's represented and all that. Just a couple of things. It's not a but, it's just a sort of couple of points, I guess. Looking at the board members, I get worried, I just wonder with whether that board's going to shift around in personnel, because sometimes when you have boards like that, they sometimes might get a bit cliquey, I guess, is the word that I'm trying to get. And I really want to, you know what my feelings are. I really want to make sure we do have representation of youth, young people, the voluntary sector, and also the people who do the shopping, the customer, so just to make sure that it has a bit more of a balance, and that you don't have that danger of just getting sort of set in your ways sort of thing. So those are just my sort of cautionary notes. But besides that, I'm very supportive of the bid and will be voting for it tonight. Thank you.
I think that's pretty supportive. In that case, I think we can take one vote to resolve, can't we?
Yeah, I need to do
We need to, yeah. So because we agree broadly, I think, taking the field that we would take a recorded vote in a minute. I just wanted to just pick up one quick thing. You mentioned the change from the first bid to the second bid board as well. And that statistically in their surveys, in that report, showed such a massive shift. So, a gear change from what we were looking at the time, way back then, to the hard work and change of direction, absolutely phenomenal. And that's why we've got the most amazing bid team now, I think. So I'm really in favour of that. So, yeah, please do carry on now. So,
Thank you. So a vote for the proposal. Councillor Baldock.
for.
Councillor Dawkins.
For.
Councillor Charlotte Cornell.
For.
Councillor Chris Cornell.
For.
Councillor Dixie. Councillor Hazelton.
For.
Councillor Nolan.
For.
Councillor Ricketts.
For.
Councillor Sol.
For.
That's carried unanimously, Chair.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, and a final thank you to the bid, and a final thank you to the people that spoke tonight. We appreciate it as well. Thank you. Just take a moment or two. If people want to leave, then of course they're very welcome to. But also, you're very welcome to stay as well. So please do. But otherwise, don't get stuck in the door trying to get all that together. So it's fine. And Lisa can probably get an evening as well. So. Okay, thank you for that. So, right, so that's item 8, which is the Caneco item. So it's Canterbury Environment Company Service Delivery Plan for 2024-25 on pages 89 to 109. This is to consider a report by Trish Marshall, Director of Corporate Services. I believe Sarah's not here tonight, is she? So, and it'd be Tricia, be you picking up that introduction up as and when needed, yeah? Yeah, of course, but as and when needed, yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much. So I'll ask Charlotte to introduce the item, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I know you've all seen this report and it went to Cabinet Committee. So despite the industrial action, there's been considerable progress and achievements. There's some data on our fly tipping, a lot of data on our sort of retention. You'll see there's a continued focus on improving and reducing our missed collections and our missed assisted collections, and still being very proactive in this whole plan about continuing to improve our customer service offer. Key points of development for the plan are developing our digital capacity and our corporate sort of landing pages on our website. And that's all part of the customer-friendly interface that we're still aware is very much still and will always be a work in progress, because technology, we never keep up with what technology can do, and we need to keep reviewing and improving our offer. There's also a lot in the plan about training and development. You can see, most interestingly, perhaps in terms of forward planning, the report for the growth bids that were submitted, which marked our intention. Obviously, a new administration, we came in, learnt the Star Chamber process. I worked very closely with this excellent gentleman on my left in developing the coastal recycling site plan, along with Sarah and David, as we, for the first time, really this summer, will hope to grow the recycling offer on the coast. And the Cabinet are aware, as we have discussed this many times, that it's one of our key corporate aims to roll out on-street recycling in a wider sense across the district. And we will be coming back for further growth bids, no doubt. Beware, Mike Soul. But there's a horticulture apprenticeship scheme, which I know will please Councillor Nolan to my right-hand side. And we've invested in an extra compact road and precinct sweeper, realising that some of our more suburban roads have been swept less often, were looking tattier under the previous administration. And we needed that extra sweeper back on roads to make sure we're doing justice to our street scene. There's an awful lot in there. I'm sure Tricia and I will happily take questions or suggestions, or just sort of bear this in mind for futures. But thank you very much to the Cabinet Committee as well for their comments on the report.
Do you want to, have we got somebody volunteer to second that report? I'll just propose it, sorry. Do you want to pose it?
Properly. I would. I'm on Chair's notes.
Where do you probably want this one?
This one. To resolve that the service delivery plan for waste collection and street cleansing and grounds maintenance and associated works for 2024-25 be approved. Could I get a second, please?
Hazelton, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that's absolutely amazing. Let's take some comments on that. So good report. So we'll start with Michael Dixie, Councillor Michael Dixie.
Thanks, Charlotte. It's an excellent report, very comprehensive, and reflects an organisation which is moving forward, I think, very steadily. I would ask that in addition to this sort of 1 year service delivery plan, Canenco should be drawing up a 5-year sort of corporate plan, strategic plan or whatever, and covering the longer term things like areas where it might take on additional work, how it will switch from electric towards electric vehicles, and the necessary infrastructure, charging infrastructure, on-street recycling, which you've already mentioned. And there are quite a lot of things. It doesn't need to be a lengthy report, but I think it's something with 4 or 5 pages at the most on the longer term vision for Canenco.
Thank you. That's it's timely as well, as we're just consulting and finishing our corporate plan. The corporate plan, of course, has to predate that 5-year Can & Co potential structuring plan, because it will contain our joint political objectives, which, as you rightly say, contain the electrification of the fleet, the rollout of further on-street recycling, investigating the possibility of gaining income from private contracts that might help pay down some of the recycling and greener offer we want to offer the city. So upon completion of the corporate plan, I will absolutely revisit that with Sarah and David, and no doubt I think that's something that we probably will come back to at Cabinet fairly soon.
Yeah, so that's a wise point. It's a starter, isn't it, really, this time round? But it's the first year out, and I think gently as she goes, we just work through this bit now. So, any other comments? I've got Councillor Dawkins.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, just comments. Yeah, so thanks for the report. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, just glad to see some of the things in there, like the electric lawn mowers and cutters and stuff, that the trial's been successful, and that you'll be bringing more of those in. Knowing a few gardeners myself, they are quite useful and they do work quite well. Also, just to sort of comment on Can & Co and it's where it came from, you know, so obviously we had Serco, which is traditionally, you know, well, they did everything, didn't they? So then we moved to Can & Co. So there was a kind of worry at one point that having the grounds maintenance and the waste system all together in one meant that one got neglected. And I guess when we all started out the Can & Co journey, it was all about the waste, and we had all the issues with COVID and all that. So the grounds maintenance arm of it did get a bit neglected, to be honest, and we know that we've had that experience as we've moved on with certain issues that I've mentioned this in the announcements earlier. But, you know, so reading the report, I'm glad to see that there's a lot of detail in there about how we're going to improve that section of the business and the LACCO, sorry. And I'm really pleased to see that that's all on the cards and coming down the tracks. So moving forward, it's all really, really positive, and I'm, you know, looking forward to reading the reports and seeing how we will get on with it. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. You had to decode the GMAW section of the report as well, did you? Because the lawn mowing, isn't it, basically? I had no idea what the letter stood for when I read the report, but I do now. Sorry. And but yeah, that's really. Any other comments at all? Because I think actually it's a really good piece of work. I think for that starter, that marker in the sand for the way where this goes to, and a really useful piece. So thank you for that. Thank you to Dean. And I'm sure you'll take back our thanks to the next board meeting, if you wouldn't mind, please, Councillor Cornell.
Well, I don't attend the board meeting, but I will. Susie and Tricia and Marie, you will take our thanks back, and I will pass to David, and I will pass back our thanks to the
That's
officers
lovely.
and
Thank
Sarah.
you for that.
Yeah.
And personally, of course, at the meeting too. That's much appreciated. Thank you. Okay, so this is a recorded vote again, isn't it? Okay, so which is voting for this is to agree the report, isn't it?
To approve the plan.
Approve the plan, yeah. Anything you want to add at all? No, that's all. Sure. Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks. Councillor Baldock?
4.
Councillor Dawkins?
4.
Councillor Charlotte Cornell? 4. Councillor Chris Cornell?
4.
Councillor Dixie? 4. Councillor Hazelton?
4.
Councillor Nolan?
4.
Councillor Ricketts?
4.
And Councillor Sol.
4.
And that's carried unanimously, Chair.
Lovely, thank you for that. Okay, let's move to item 9 now. This is where Councillor Sol will be starring on this particular agenda item. So we go through this start there now. So this is the Treasury Management Strategy, Investment Strategy and Capital Strategy for 2024-25. And our finance lead here, Vicky Mills, is Section 151 officer here today. And obviously be able to help us through the report as well. So can I ask Councillor Sol to introduce the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. I think anyone seeing an agenda item titled Treasury, Capital and Investment Strategies might think we had large investment funds and we're deciding whether to invest them in bitcoins or gold or tobacco, fossil fuels or green energy or whatever. And it's clearly not the case. We don't invest in any complex or risky investments for three reasons. The first one is it will take additional resources and expertise to manage such investments. The second, that it is risky. And as I mentioned in my budget speech, I'm very much aware that the funds we have are the funds of our residents, and we don't want to do anything that we may risk losing. But the third most relevant reason is that even if, as a cabinet, we decided we wanted to get involved in more riskier investments, which I sincerely hope we wouldn't, we don't have the surplus funds to do it. And with our focus on using any surplus funds to pay down debt or avoid further borrowing for capital projects, I can't see us in a position to consider such a changing strategy for many years to come. What we've got here today are the 24-25 Treasury, Capital and Investment strategies that we need to update annually. They've been compiled within the CIPFA framework, that's the Chartered Institute of Public Finance and Accountancy, and they provide an overview of how we manage our finances and cash flow. Overall, we manage our cash prudently and aim to get the best rates of interest at the lowest risk level. We have Treasury advisors who provide regular updates and advise officers on any Treasury matters. And the successful identification, monitoring and control of financial risk are the key aspects to the authority's prudent financial management. I'm saying prudent so many times I'm beginning to sound like Gordon Brown. This includes our cash investments, which are currently all overnight investments, which fluctuate daily with cash flow needs and interest rates. We've got a mix of long fixed borrowing from the Public Works Loan Board and short-term borrowing from the local authority markets. And that means we can manage interest rates fluctuations without locking into long-term high interest rates. We have various options available to us when the borrowing needs arise, and these are reviewed when appropriate. The economic updates are slightly out of date in the report due to the timing of the report and committee report processes. But the strategy here set the limits and structures of how we make sure we are managing our finances prudently. And there are, of course, quarterly reports that go to the audit committee that monitor this. So the key word is prudent. We know that finances are tight, so it's essential that when we borrow, we get the best rates possible. And when putting funds on deposit, we maximise returns whilst minimising risk. And finally, as you mentioned, Chair, Nick is here to answer any detailed questions you might have. So I propose the report.
Yeah, somebody volunteer to second that for me, please. Thank you, Councillor Ricketts. Just the formal words, isn't it?
Councillor Sole, sorry, can you just confirm that you're proposing the recommendations within the report as a recommendation to council, please?
Yes,
if that is what you are proposing.
It is, yes.
That's fine. Just so I'll just read those out just for absolute clarity. The issue 1 2 there. You want to read that out, or do you want me to do it for you? It's fine.
You've got it in front of you, Chair, so if you're happy to do it.
Absolutely fine. So to recommend to council that that the attached Treasury management strategy, including minimum revenue provision policy for 2024-25, be approved. B, that the attached capital strategy for 24-25 to be approved, and that the attached investment strategy for 24-25 is also approved. So they're all items in your agenda. So we can open debate now. So Councillor Chris Cornell.
You're glad to know I'm not going to ask any complicated questions. I just, however, want to point out two unnoted disclosures. I'm a member of Kent County Cricket Club, listed as a loanee on page 143, and our family are also members of Polo Farm Sports Club, which is listed as a loanee at the same.
Okay, thanks. That's noted, and that's fine. Anyone else want to make a comment at all about that, or shall we just move that forward? Councillor Nolan, yeah.
Well, simply to say that with so many other councils which are facing financial difficulties, etc., I'm really very glad that Councillor Sole is being sort of prudent in the sort of mould of Gordon Brown, because to be absolutely sensible, I can think back to some councils in the past, particularly the Iceland sort of the iSaver things, where sort of there was a quick get rich thing, and there never is a quick get rich thing. And just to say, because I know you're a KCC councillor as well, that KCC got burnt on that as well. So I'm actually very happy that he uses the word prudent so often.
Okay, that's Councillor Dixie.
Matter of interest, we did have money in Icelandic. We did, yeah, but we didn't in BCCI, the Bank for Cane and Crooks, I think it was known as did some councils.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Okay, okay, to go for a vote on that case, I'll get first to ring through.
Thanks, Chair. Councillor Baldock?
4.
Councillor Dawkins?
4.
Councillor Charlotte Cornell? 4. Councillor Chris Cornell?
4.
Councillor Dixie? Councillor Hazelton?
4.
Councillor Nolan?
4.
Councillor Ricketts?
4.
Councillor Sol?
4.
And that's carried unanimously, Chair.
That's great. Thank you for that. Okay, if anyone want a break or anything? Yep. Okay, let's take a couple of minutes break now, and that's fine. Thanks. Okay, so just we're making a start now. We'll come back off our little mini adjournment. So, and then we're going to start, remember, now on item 10 when we come back. All right. Which, of course, is the Long Rock Management Plan. That's on pages 217 to 258 of the agenda. So, we've got, this item, we've got Martin Hall, the Senior Environment Manager, and Bill Hicks is here as well. So we've got plenty of knowledge there to ask questions of us to help us through the debate. And can I ask Councillor Charlotte Cornell to introduce the item, please?
Thank you, Chair. This is an excellent report about a really special site. So Long Rock is a mixed habitat between Whitstable and, well, it's in Swalcliffe really, so between Whitstable and Herne Bay. Consists of obviously your shingle beach, but marsh and scrub and brackish and freshwater channels and ditches. It's mainly formed naturally through the natural process of longshore drift. And as I said, it's got a really diverse ecological and geophysical sort of presence. It's a marker in the Whitstable landscape with its spit. It's where the Swale Brook runs to the sea. It's where the Victorians dumped their rubbish. And just off it, there's areas of archaeological importance, including Bronze Age sites that are currently being archaeologically examined. This plan is important and timely, and details interventions that will improve the sustainability and ecology of the space. It promotes the importance of the space and the importance of educating visitors and locals alike about the space. And it's both, we get a lot of visitor and touristic footfall, but also we get a lot of regular resident use, people using it for leisure in really different ways, whether that's taking a brisk walk by the sea or enjoying a jog on the paths or collecting stones with their children. The intervention, the man-made human interventions on that site are significant. But some of those interventions come at an ecological cost. And the site itself is it's part of the Thanet Coast SSSI, the Sandwich Bay Spa and Ramsar. It's a really important space for the Fisher's estuarine moth, for various and diverse birds. And if you go there almost any lovely morning, you'll see many a twitcher looking out for the species that both nest and migrate there. This report promotes a balanced access arrangement. We need to develop ways that the human-induced threats can be reduced, whilst enabling and encouraging that visitor enjoyment. We need to develop the species and the habitat resilience, while also encouraging human-led, i.e. our interventions, that can be restorative. And there's some excellent interventions detailed on the SWOT analysis, that's on page 249, and the pages that follow. There's plenty of detail on our plans for surveillance to ensure that PSPOs are adhered to, that a regular friends group is set up, that the reduction of Alexanders takes place while the spreading of seed more suitable for the habitat of the Fisher's estuarine moth is encouraged. There's lots of general interventions and there's plenty of specific ones. This is an excellent piece of work from a team that really, really know their stuff, that visit these spaces, that have done some excellent on-the-ground consultation, that have listened to some tough feedback at times, and sometimes been tough with that feedback, because we have an agenda, as you know, that is to promote the biodiversity of our district, and sometimes that requires really tough decisions. So thank you very much to Martin and his team. To everyone else, I propose we resolve that the Cabinet adopt the Long Rock Management Plan option 1, and I'd look for a seconder.
Thank you, Councillor Nolan. Okay, I certainly endorse the absolutely excellent report, and it's a good read, isn't it? And that was a fantastic read, actually. So, right, so Councillor Ricketts and then Councillor Cornell.
Yeah, I think this is a fantastic report, and I think we should absolutely support this 100%. I think, as a lot of people do, I stumbled onto this when I first went around the area, and it was those very twitchers who were looking at stuff. And as I will always do, being a bit of a geek, if I see some people with binoculars and telephoto lenses, ask them what they're looking for. And I was amazed at something that is, you know, you just sort of stumble along. I think we were going to the skate park or something like that. You stumble across it, and how important that area is. There are other parts of the country you have to sit in a hide for hours to see the variety of bird life that you see there, and the really important species, as well as all of the other elements of this site. It's absolutely the sort of thing we should be doing, is protecting these kind of areas. We're lucky to have it in our district, and I thoroughly support this report. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Corner.
Yeah, I just wanted to endorse Charlotte's comments, and thanks to Rob and Martin and the team for their hard work. I think this goes a long way to explain to people actually the complexity of the site. For a long period of time, there's been a lot of people who just consider this a place where they walk their dog. And actually, to be honest, this is saying very clearly this is a very important site for a variety of reasons. It's not just bird life, actually. But is moving away from something which is just enforcement based to looking at fixed point cameras and surveillance, so we can actually identify if something works. The new educational signage has been really well respected, and really there's lots of positive feedback from it. And Birdwise Kent's initiatives in and around the space have been really kind of positive in the summer. But the one thing I just wanted to pick up is, in such a mixed-use site, I think we have to look carefully at the provision of public rights of way. And I think that the suggestion here is a sensible one, which is to encourage people, where possible, to stay on the rights of way which exist by better demarking them, and then consider the review. But what I'm interested in, I guess, Martin, the question is, how do we perceive that review pre-2026 to go? So there is a recommendation in this report that we will continue with the public rights of way, but we might be involved with Kent County Council in looking at whether they did before 2026. As somebody who has previously seen public rights of way go through planning inspectors as something to try and remove, it's a complicated process full of lots of different people. Were we try to do it, remove them, I think we'd have to quite clearly understand for what benefit. So my question is, how are we going to collect the information and surveillance over the next couple of years up until 2026, by which we can make a proper and informed decision as to whether we do that?
Thanks, Chris. You okay to just have a few thoughts on that? I don't think we need an answer now, but I think we need a direction, don't we, really? If anyone take an answer on that at all? Any thoughts? Have you got any sort of plans on how you might do the review? Not, you know, obviously not put it together now. We get this over the line if you can.
Thank you, Councillor Cornell. You're quite right about distinguishing public rights of way. It's fraught with problems. We have had very early discussions with Kent County Council as a highway authority for the public rights of way. They understand where we're coming from on this. We will have to put together a lot of evidence, and we've already started a process of gathering that. Now, what I'm now going to describe sounds slightly awkward, but surveillance is the word. We have been working with a company that actually monitors people's phones. So on your phones, you have 30, 40 apps. Some of those companies will have already signed up to have, you know, sort of like heat maps created. How many people are walking where? How long are they stopping? We've been gathering that information for a year and a half. We're going to continue to do it for a little bit longer. And what we're going to be looking for in that data, it's incredibly detailed actually what we get back, is hoping to see a decrease in footfall and dwell time in some of the more sensitive areas. It's a way of us countering some of the comments we do get in public meetings when people are saying, I never see anybody over there. Nobody ever walks their dog there, when everybody knows, you know, lots of people do. So it's really good information that we'll start sharing with local people. I think it will always be open to challenge. So we can't just rely on that, but we will also be relying on our duty under the Environment Act about protecting and enhancing biodiversity in these areas. So there'll be a number of things that we're putting together to say this is the reason why we think this is the right course of action. There's a lot of public rights of way on this site. Some of them are actually out, not in the middle of the sea, but they are actually out to sea if you look on the public rights of way. So there is a need to rationalise them and to sort them. But yeah, it's sort of, I don't mean this as a joke, but step by step, you know, we really do have to be careful in how we do this and try and take people with us as much as we can.
It's really, can I just come back and, so I'll be sort of saying you can keep monitoring this for about another year or something like that. Because that's fine if that's the case, and then we can all come back together and thresh out, bring something to council again, and we work out and move it forward. Yeah, I think that's probably sounds like a plan. But go for it, Chris. Go.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just need a clear idea about who the data is going back to. I think we need to collect information over a period of time, and I personally don't have too much of a problem with the rationalisation of some of the public rights of way. As you said, I think if we are going to talk about this site as being special, one of the complexities of it at the moment is we've managed it in such a way for a period of time by which there's a huge range of people on the site, despite the fact that there's a good alternative where you can just go around the edge of it. So I'm confident we're collecting the information, and I think it's good that if we're feeding all that stuff back in through the enforcement teams and through foreshore and data, I'd just be wary, or I think it would be important to identify a kind of point in the sand by which it comes back for a decision. Otherwise, it'll just run on for too long.
Yeah, Councillor Sol.
Can I just add a very belated interest? I am an occasional park runner.
So which part are you using? No, I won't ask that question. But yeah, so what we're saying is, do we need to make a suggestion that, you know, we set a review date in a year's time or further than that?
I think there's already a date in the diary. We're just suggesting that if it happens before 2026, I'm sure Martin will just basically make sure it sits in a calendar somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's fine by us. Fine by me, at least. I think a date in the sand is a good one. Even if we need to take it there and review it some more, then that's okay too, I think. Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Charlotte Cornell.
I think that's the kind of thing that Martin and I can keep up in ports, and if necessary, I can bring it as an update to Cabinet, as I did with the Cannon Code data at the beginning.
If that works for the pair of you, I think that's a fine idea. Perfect. Yeah, okay, let's go for it. It's good. Councillor Hazelton.
Yes, the only comment I've really got to make is I just think it's a fantastic report. I mean, it was genuinely a good read. I really enjoyed reading it, so I just wanted to, you know, record my kind of thanks. And I've seen on social, I haven't been over there recently, but I've seen on social media the new signage that's up there, and that looks, you know, certainly from social media to be a really good, good step forward. And I think the more of that informative, you know, signage will help people realise what a special site that they're approaching, and that, you know, all of this education and information is all part of the appreciation and preservation of it. Thank you.
Councillor Dawkins.
Thank you. Yeah, just wanted to also echo everybody's thoughts, comments about what an excellent report it is. And I know a lot of work's gone into it, and I know your colleague Rob Jenkins did a lot on it, so credit to him. And you know, it's a really challenging site, and I think we're going to have more of these as we move along, especially. Now we've declared that eco declaration, and also we've got this local recovery strategy coming down the road as well. So, you know, there's a lot of sites that are very sensitive and people want to use them rightly for their own recreation. We're going to have to, this is a really good example of that, and that flexibility is really good. And I know I did attend one of the sessions, and I know the team really did listen to everybody and work with what the comments and really sort of try and find ways to make it work. So I think it's really good. And I know there was one comment at one of the meetings that somebody, I mean, it might just be one person, I don't know, but someone generally didn't know about the consultation. So maybe there was more, and was quite upset about the fact that they didn't know about the consultation. But, you know, I guess in the report, the management plan, we've talked about the Friends group, and that will go a long way to solving that. You know, it's going to be more boots on ground sort of thing, more doors being knocked, which is really great. So that would be great to see that formed in a year's time. That's in the plan as well. So, yeah, basically, really, really impressive report, and thank you very much.
Any other comments by anybody? Okay, so I think we've got a really good idea of the importance of this particular site and how that actually feeds into the next part of our agenda. I think it's worth all of us thinking back and reflecting on what we're looking at here when we look at the next item as well. So one thing I was going to just say very quickly, I think we all agree this is such an excellent report and a good example of the work that the team are doing, and we're proud of it. Have we got a good strategy in place, or shall we really boost up getting it out there to all the interested groups and parties electronically and on our website and stuff like that? I mean, we're quite comfortable with it, aren't we? There's no reason to hide it under a bush. I mean, have we got some good ideas to get? What about groups to get out there for, you know, bird watching groups and all the rest of it? I might be talking to the obvious, but ought we be pushing that maybe? I don't know. Any thoughts?
I think people in Whitstable will know.
I mean, I think we should not be shy about sharing this even further. I'd like to see the report pushed again personally on our council socials. I think it's an excellent report. I'd like to see it go out again. Just if we agree it, hopefully we will. I think it's a good opportunity tomorrow for a good job for Leah.
Yeah, very happy with that. I think that's easy peasy, and we'll take it from there. Go ahead, Kel. Let's talk into you.
I guess the signs have gone up, but was there a QR code on there? Like, there is. Yep.
Thanks for that. That's really good. Yeah, we're happy with that. I'll get Vanessa to take the vote for that, Cam.
Thanks, Chair. Councillor Baldock?
4.
Councillor Dawkins?
4.
Councillor Charlotte Cornell?
4.
Councillor Chris Cornell?
4.
Councillor Dixie? Councillor Hazelton?
4.
Councillor Nolan?
4.
Councillor Ricketts?
4.
Councillor Sol?
4.
And that's carried, Chair, unanimously.
Thanks for that. Okay. Now back to the item 10 now. That's a proposed dog control public space participation order, 2024, pages 148 to 216. And we've obviously got Marie Royal, Service Director for People, here to help us with the conversations and debates afterwards if we need some help. The cabinet member for this item is Connie Nolan, and I'll ask Connie to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's a interesting one because it's an order, and I know that some people are very unhappy with the idea of order, but I'd just like to point out that it went out to consultation and people generally were quite happy. When it came to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, we separated it because Long Rock, which we've just discussed, was a subject of quite a lot of discussion. The ONS minutes have now been corrected because the actual vote was 5 votes for, 4 against and 3 abstentions, and that is now reflected in the new minutes. But what I am asking the Cabinet to consider is to adopt a new dog control PSPO order, as set out in Appendix D, which includes dog fouling, dog on a lead of no more than 2 metres as per locations listed, direction given to place the dog on the lead, and the dog exclusion. I would just like to sort of point out that there are omissions from this that was previously in the order. So not included in the new order is paths on the Riverside Walk, the public footpath within Whitstable Cemetery, dog exclusion at the following sites: the play area, the Maltings, enclosed Littlebourne, play area, Black Griffin Lane, Canterbury, Sturry Road, garden area, Northgate, and the requirement for a person in charge of the dog to produce, if asked to do so by an officer, a suitable means to pick up, remove and dispose of dog faeces. Do I have a seconder?
Councillor Hazleton, thank you.
I would also like to say that I thought the Long Rock management plan will hopefully offset a lot of the concerns about Long Rock. But on the 23rd, I did go out with Councillor Smith, sorry, on the 9th of April. Start again, Connie. On the 9th of March, I went out with Councillor Smith to Long Rock. I witnessed the runners, the park run. It was very, very muddy. Not everybody was keeping to the park pathway. I also noticed that the signage was very poor, but that has since been improved. And one of the things that struck me was that people do need to be reminded to put their dogs on a lead. And I'd just like to say, on the 9th of March, when Councillor Smith and I were talking to the bird watchers with their telescopic lens and so forth, I actually witnessed a couple, probably in their 30s, who were quite amused by their dog chasing a bird, so much so that they got their camera out and filmed it. And I thought this was not very good behaviour, so I went over and I pointed out that it was an area of SSSI. I pointed to the birders saying, you know, sort of it was an area for birds, and I asked them to put their dog on a lead. And when they said, oh, but he's very well behaved, I sort of pointed out I just watched him chase a bird repeatedly, and they did then put the dog on the lead. So I think we do need a nudge. We do need to have an order as a backup. You know, 99% of people understand, particularly if they read the signs, and the signs are very good. But I would actually say what we do need is we need that backup to it. Not particularly to say to people all the time you're being watched or whatever, but to remind people of the need for those particular dog orders, that at certain times and certain places we do need people to exercise control over their dog. I don't have a dog at the moment, but I've had dogs in the past, and I do know that basically a dog is a pack animal and it's very excited in the chase and so forth, and you have to sometimes it's impossible to call a dog back, so to have a dog on a lead in an area where, you know, sort of it could get overexcited, want to go in and sort of join in the play of the children may not like dogs and so forth. So I think what we really do need is we need a sensible and balanced approach. Councillor Cornell, when she was talking about the Long Rock, made a very, very good point about it. You know, these are shared spaces, and in shared spaces, I think children have the right to feel that they're not going to be, children are often worried about dogs, that they're not going to be attacked by a dog. Dog owners often overestimate how well behaved their dog is, and I think basically we ought to accept it's in a dog's nature to chase something, and where we don't want it to be chasing something, then I think it's only sensible we ask owners to put the dog on a lead. Dog fouling is something which is pretty horrible, and so I think it's you know, right that we should look at sort of dog fouling in urban areas, particularly in play parks.
Yeah, thanks for that. Obviously, what we're voting on is a number of items. Just to sort of for clarity debate, separating off what was a fairly controversial item at overview scrutiny of about the Long Rock and whether we should or shouldn't have dog leads used in this what was perceived by some to be an open space, an unimpeded open space. Why did you need a dog on lead kind of argument? But there's other things on that, the order that we're voting on and block. We can separate that if we need to. But has anyone got anything about like the bridge, recreation ground or anything like that, just to sort of deal with those items so that we get a coverage of all of them? Councillor Sol.
It's actually a query on Barham, and I was aware of some correspondence I had with the Chair of Overview and Scrutiny before that meeting about a late request from Barham Parish Council to change the complete dog ban on the green to dogs on lead. Now, I wasn't at the Overview and Scrutiny, so I don't know what happened, but it still appears on this schedule to be a complete ban, and I wonder if Marie could explain whether there's an error on this or whether it was decided not to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, please do, Marie. Thank you. We did talk about this, didn't we?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Sol. Barham's response came in really late, so it didn't form part of the consultation response, and we were already into the committee process when their response came. So they are proposing that the dog exclusion, dogs on lead, be changed for the green area. We can't do that as part of this process because that proposal would have to go back out for consultation. So at Overview and Scrutiny, we advised that it would be better to proceed with the order as is, and in parallel to that, we can do a fresh consultation specifically on the area that Barham raised, rather than delay the adoption of the whole order.
Can I ask if you're doing that as well then on Barham? I've also had requests from Barham for a dog ban on the football field, and I advised the football club they'd have to wait another 3 years now. But if it's possible to incorporate something in on that at the same time as you're doing it for one, that would be worth doing, please.
Yeah, go ahead. I think it probably would be, wouldn't it?
We'd be more than happy to speak to Barham again, make sure that we've got all of their feedback together and consult on that at the same time. Thank you.
Yeah, that's any other thoughts on the other items? Because I think it was just go back to that contentious item that was debated so vigorously, I think, at Overview and Scrutiny. And there's pros and cons in both cases. We're actually dealing with dogs on leads for a relatively short distance through the Long Rock area, aren't we? And other than that, it's not like the whole of the Whitstable coastline, for argument's sake, is it? It's just a relatively short place. Can somebody just clear that up, make that absolutely clear in open debate?
Yes, Chair. The ban specifically relates to Long Rock. There are other sections where essentially dogs are restricted along sections of Tankerton slopes over the summer, but that's related to issues of protecting the kind of blue flag status. I would say that one of the substantive improvements in this is the improvements on signage, particularly in complicated areas in and around Herne Bay Pier, where they drop in and out on the Tankerton seafront. Our signage on those sites, you either love it or loathe it, but more importantly, actually having the maps on the signs, I think, is really advantageous. I personally think that the dog ban at Long Rock is warranted given the detail that we've had in the management plan, and essentially what's clear is that there are many kind of strings to the bow about how we're kind of dealing with it. I would also say in 2021, when we did the first consultation, we had 170 responses just on Long Rock alone. This is 170 responses, give or take, across the whole district, of which the responses that specifically relate to Long Rock are under 30. So whilst there might have been some original concern, essentially, I don't think that level of public concern is as high as it was in 2021. And I think it's a sensible strategy which kind of ties in with a whole variety of other things we've already explained so far about how we can improve access on Long Rock. In fact, 2021, Mel's calling for more signage, so it took us 3 years, but we finally got there.
Thanks for that. So and the two do go together intimately well, don't they? The two are very linked. Yeah, Councillor Ricketts.
Yes, I mean, I suppose I've got to yet again say I'm not a big fan of PSPOs, but if you look at the evidence from the consultation, and not just Long Rock, I think we've talked about the need for that there as well. And you look at some of the behaviour that people are talking about and some of these other areas as well. And there was some significant concern, I think, and confusion over some of the other areas where people thought that there was a potential for these bans to be lifted, and they were worried about dogs off leads and access in areas, particularly areas with kids. And it feels to me that in a lot of cases we're, sort of legislating for common sense where a lot of people don't apply it, and actually that lack of common sense where people might think, it's not a huge amount of harm, as we've seen with Long Rock in particular, it can cause a huge amount of harm if people don't comply with these things. It's a shame that they have to be there, but I think unfortunately I'll support these, and particularly with reference to Long Rock and some of the others in the area as well. So yeah.
Councillor Charlotte Cornell.
Equally, people may remember fondly how vociferous I was against PSPOs previously. However, I support PSPOs where they're a matter of safety, and that includes animal and biodiverse safety. And here, when you have nesting birds throughout a long period, and you have dogs and other human interventions risking the repetition of that nesting when the birds don't feel safe to return to those habitats, when young chicks are lifted in jaws and taken away, we are talking about actually not passing this PSPO risks our true commitment to biodiverse and ecological welfare on a really important site. So I'm unashamedly backing the dog PSPO as it stands, and don't think we should necessarily take it as a separate vote. I think we should just pass it as one.
Chris Cornell?
And I would just flag, because in conversations I'm generally quite anti-PSPO as well, that essentially the key thing here seems to be evidence-led. So we have restricted the area covered in the Long Rock PSPO. It's removed the areas around the playing fields and essentially around the play park. So we are specifically relating to an area which has a kind of SSSI classification, where historically it was just a larger area which was kind of referred to vernacularly as kind of Long Rock.
Yep, that sums it up well, doesn't it? I think that's at that point. It's using the PSPO for a small enough area for a very good reason. No more, no less, and to achieve an exact purpose. So that's exactly what it should be used for, and I think we can all agree on that. And none of us in favour of blanket PSPOs for the sake of it, for sure. And also, I think the other important thing with this particular piece of legislation we've voted on tonight is we've actually removed unnecessary PSPOs in certain areas too. And that's a good thing to do as well. I mean, there's no point in having something there just because it's there. So it's fine. So I'm getting a feeling that we are generally in favour of that and the previous, obviously, Long Rock item as well, the management plan. So can we vote together on this one?
Yeah, we've had a proposal for the recommendation to council, so a vote for would be a vote for that proposal.
Okay.
Councillor Baldock?
For?
Councillor Dawkins?
For.
Councillor Charlotte Cornell?
For.
Councillor Chris Cornell?
For.
Councillor Dixie? Councillor Hazelton?
For.
Councillor Nolan?
For.
Councillor Ricketts?
For.
And Councillor Sol?
For.
And that's carried unanimously.
Thank you very much for that. Let's just get me out together now at the end of the meeting. You okay? It's just a bit nervous to read it out.
She read it out.
She did.
They read it.
Yeah, fine. I'm just looking back on it. It was, wasn't it? It was there, wasn't it? Yeah. I'm not sure. actually. I think so, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay. We're just being really, really careful on this bit, and that's just to, we may need to do that again, won't we? Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. To be really careful, because I'm not sure we've actually covered absolutely everything there. We, to recommend to council, two things. The first one was on the PSPO, and the second one is on the local management plan. So if I read them out, what we're going to vote on? Just the PSPO one? Okay, happy with the first one. Okay, right. So to recommend to council the adoption of a new dog control PSPO 2024, as set out in Appendix D, which includes requirements relating to dog fouling, dog on a lead of no more than 2 metres as per locations listed in Schedule 1 in Appendix D. Directions given to dogs to place a dog on a lead. Dog exclusion as per locations listed in Schedule 2, Appendix D. Just talked about that. And point 2, to include the new site of Bridge Recreation Ground as a dog exclusion area as set out in Schedule 2, Appendix D. Point 3, to attach site maps to locations listed in Section 2 of this report to ensure boundaries and areas are restricted, where the restrictions apply are very clear, which was made earlier. Point 4, to not include in the new order 4.1 dog lead restrictions in the following sites. That's the path, the river path and walk, or the paths and the riverside walk, public footpath within Whitstable Cemetery and Whitstable. 4.2 dog exclusion at the following sites: play area, the Maltings, enclosed Littlebourne. Is that right? How does that read? Play area, the Maltings, enclosed Littlebourne. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. The enclosed must be part of Littlebourne, is it? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Didn't know. Play area, Black Griffin Lane, Canterbury, and the Story Road Community Park garden area at Northgate. 4.3, the requirements of a person in charge of a dog on land which to which the order applies to produce, if asked to do so by an officer, a suitable means to pick up, remove and appropriately dispose of dog feces. So that's not going to be included. So that was the entire bit. We've done the one about the long rock management plan. That's the other part of this order. Now I think we need to do that vote again. Sorry?
Yes. Second.
We need a second, please.
Seconded.
Thank you, Councillor Cornell. Chris Cornell. Thank you.
Sorry, I'll read those names again just to confirm. Councillor Baldock.
4.
Councillor Dawkins. Councillor Charlotte Cornell.
4.
Councillor Chris Cornell.
4.
Councillor Dixie. Councillor Hazelton. 4. Councillor Nolan. 4. Councillor Ricketts. 4. And Councillor Sol.
4.
And that's carried unanimously, Chair.
It's always good to have a practice run, isn't it? I think. So, okay. Right. So that is the end of our meeting. So it's just the final closure bits now, isn't it? Okay. So item 17, date of the next meeting, 7 p.m. Monday, the 22nd of April. Should be in your diaries already. Thank you for that. Okay. Point 18, any other urgent business to be dealt with in public? I've not been notified of any. Have you? No. There's none notified. Item 19, exclusion of press and public. That's not required, I don't think, is it? No. So part C, items like to be considered in private. There are none, are there? No. So we don't need to do that. Item 20. So none notified. So we can close the meeting at 20:48. Thank you very much.